Now look at the next example. In this example, same thing, create an array, integer type array. And these are the number of values in the array. Notice here we didn't have the size of the array this time. And array size is decided by these values. So how many elements in this array? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So the size of the array is 10. You count it here. Whatever number of elements tells the size of an array. That way you don't need to give the size array again because it's decided by this number of elements. And same thing, we want to print out index and the value. And then this time array has a value. So when I run the program, I get this result. 0 to 9. The first element is 1. I mean the index. We got it from the for loop here. We start from 0. And then we cite 0. Index 0 has a value 32 and 27 all the way down here. That's how we use it. So when we run it, we get these numbers are from counter 0 all the way down to the length of the array, which is 10, but with less than 10, then you see 9 here. And these are the value of our array. We got this here, and we use the 0, 5. You count the space here, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's the number 5 characters letter spacing. And then from here, 1 to 8. You count here, 1, 2, all the way down to here, it's 8. We see these numbers here. So that's the spacing we control. And notice here, this time we have elements value in the array. That when you declare this array, you do it like this. That's why you don't need to say new equals to new int array 10. You don't need to say that because these numbers decided how many elements in the array. Now look at this example. Same thing. In this example, we have these values in array. And then another variable called total will give initial value 0. Here's a for loop. Go from 0 and stop at the length of the array. Inside, we increase the value of total by adding all these numbers together using array counter. Array counter will go from 0 all the way on to 10. Then we add all these numbers together to get a total. See, this one only 2 lines of code to add all of them together. No matter there are 10 elements, 100 elements, 1,000 elements, only 2 lines of code with for loop, we get all done. That's why we say that's the advantage of an array. Using for loop, we can cycle through the array quickly. Only 2 lines of code. And now when I run it, you can see totals of 849, which is from right here. Now look at this example. In this example, constant variable, const here, to tell this variable is constant means the value 10 will not be changed because we want to do that. We don't want to change this value. It's always 10 for this variable. We make it a constant variable, const. And then we use this constant variable to cite the size of the array, 10. Then the for loop here, go through the array, then we use a for loop to initialize the array variable, make it an even number. Because right here when we create this array, we didn't put any value in, but now we say we decide to give a value to this array, put a even number, start from 2 to this array elements, and then use for loop again to go cycle through the array and print out the value. Then we get this result here. Now look at this example. Same thing. Create a integer create a random number, random number, and then create an integer array. size 7 elements in the array, and then for loop. Use for loop. Repeat so many times. 6 million times. Use random number to generate a value from 1 to 7. This is the method of next. Returns a random number within the range, which is from 1 to 7, means it could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, randomly. We don't know what number each time. It's different randomly. Increase the value of array frequency. And which one to be increased, we don't know because it's random. Maybe the first element is increased by 1, and maybe next time the second element is increased by 1. Maybe because this number is always changed from 1 from 1 to 0. I'm sorry, 0 to 6. 0 to 6. It's always increased. It's always increased. The value here is from 1 to 7. So that's the number range, and we don't know what number it is each time the loop repeats. So, but we want to increase the value of each element in the array. Now, which element is increased is randomly selected by using this random number. And that's how we say when we finish this 6 million times loop, the values in this array frequency is different because the index number is picked up randomly. Another for loop. This time we cycle through frequency. Go from 1 and stop at the last one, which is a 6. And we'll print out like this, 1 to 6. And notice here, this for loop and this for loop does different thing. This for loop put values, increase the value of array elements randomly. This is done by 6 million times. In the 6 million times repeat, we don't know which value is which element is increased because it's selected randomly from here. This number is from 1 to 6. 1, 7, but it goes 1 from, so the range is 1 to 6. Never goes to 7. It never goes to 7. That's the range of the random number. It goes from 1 to 6. So means depends on the number generated by the random number, then the element in frequency array, it's selected differently. It could be the first element, could be the number 4, number 5, number 6. We don't know which one. And that way, when this 6 million times repeat loop is finished, the values in the element of frequency is different. That's why we see these different numbers here. They are different because they are picked up, the increased by 1 differently because the random number is different. When we print, we go from 1 to the last one is number 6. So you can see 1 to 6. Actually this is the second element because the first element has index 0, but this is the second one. We skip the first one. Because right here it pick up the second one because the range is from 1 to 6. Means the first element in array frequency is never picked up. Then by default it is 0. See, when you print out it go from 1 to 6. We didn't have the first element value. If I do it, I'm going to change to 0. Look at that. I run the program again. When I run the program again, that's the result. The first element has value 0 because it's never picked up by this for loop. It's never picked up by the for loop, so it get a default value 0, integer default value 0. And when we print, if we start from 0, the first element, we see that the index 0 got a value 0 in the frequency, because frequency 0 has value 0. But we did it from second element 1. So you can see, go from here to here is 1 to 6, we get a different value here. Now look at this example. This time, create an array with these elements, and then display grid distribution by using red line. And there's a for loop. This for loop has another for loop because we want to print out those asterisks. In this for loop, there's condition. If counter is 10, then print out 100. Means the last element we want to print. Because right here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 elements. The last index for 1 is 10. Let's go from 0 to 11. Then the last element for counter right here is 10. And we print 100, which is the last one here. And else means if it's not the last one, if it's not the last element, then we print out this format. Right here, D2 means 2 digits. So 0, 1, both has 2 digits. Means this one comes into 0. This one comes to 1. But you want to show 2-digit format, we say colon D2. Right here, we print out counter times 10. Counter times 10 plus 9. Then we can see we got a 0, 0, 9, 10, 19, because there I increased by 1. So if the first time the counter is 0, 0 times 0 is still 10, but we want to show 2 digits, so I have 0, 0. And 0 plus 10 is 0 plus 9, which is 9, but we want to show 0, 9, because right here we say 2 digits. And the rest of it, we repeat this again for the next counter. When counter becomes 1, then we show 10, 19, 20, 29, and so on and so on. And notice here there's a for loop inside of the for loop. This for loop here say star go from 0 every time in this for loop. Then we say if the star is less than counter, array counter go from 0 and then 1 and 2 and 3, 4. But we compare the value of star with array value, which is from 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, and 1. That means in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the first 6 times loop, in the first 6 times of loop in the for loop here, this doesn't do anything because it starts from 0 and the array counter 0 is 0. Array counter 1 is 0. Array counter 2 is 0. And so on until right here it's all 0. That means this loop doesn't do anything because the condition is never becomes true. Then you never get any asterisk printout until when you come to array counter 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Array counter 6. If this counter becomes 6 from here, then star is less than 6. Then we print out 1 asterisk. If array counter is 2, then we print out 2 asterisk. If a counter is 3, we print out 3 asterisk. But on array counter 4, then we print out 4 asterisks because the value is decided by these numbers. Array counter is the value that we're talking about right here. So only when array counter means only when 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 and 1 come into right here, then we can print out stars. And that's why we get these stars here.